So today is a change. You know, for the last 3 weeks, we've been opening the Bible and we've been having just some study time on how does the Bible inform us about how we walk through really difficult moments in our life. And we just kind of exposed the reality that mental health exists in the Bible. We read through the Psalms and just saw a lot of grief and just all the telltale signs of depression and anxiety and just gut-wrenching despair that sits there. And we also acknowledge that those individuals that wrote those very transparent, sometimes poems or just what felt like maybe it was like a journal entry, also were people of faith and were trying to work out how does this reality that I feel sit with what I know to be true about God. And how do they mesh and collide together? And we've just been on a journey with that for the last 3 weeks. And so we wanted to close our series with me talking less and you hearing from some people that every single day when they wake up, God calls them to leverage who they are, the gifts they have, and the experiences they have to help people take healthy next steps when it comes to mental health. And so I'm going to do some question asking. And you're going to get to hear from people they are also followers of Jesus. 3 of them are a part of our Foundation family here week in and week out. And another one is a really great friend of Foundation. So would you please welcome to the stage our mental health panel. Well, great job. You all made it. No one fell. This is good. We're off to a good start.
Yeah.
So to get things started, I just want to take a moment, let you introduce yourselves to everyone, and just kind of share like, hey, this is my name, but then also share like, how are you connected to the mental health world? What are you passionate about? If there's anything you excel in, or like, hey, this is my thing, share that. Honestly, with whatever you want to share is fine. As long as it pertains to, what we're doing. You're welcome to do so. We're going to start on the end. Ladies first, Kate.
I am Kate, Kate Kofer. I am the counselor at the Heritage School, but I also have my own private practice called Go Forth Counseling, 1 block over. And I mainly work with kids and teens because they're a lot more fun to me.
When you say 1 block over, if you know where City Hall is, you're looking at City Hall from the street. It's to the right. Am I correct?
Yes. It's the little white house on the corner. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, so literally like just a 1 block over. Not, okay. Great.
Yep.
Cool.
And there's 3 of us in that building. So,
That's right.
Well,
Okay.
technically there's 5, but I don't know the other 2. I haven't become friends with them. I only know the 3 that I'm friends with.
Are their names Kate?
No, that is maybe.
Okay. So just when you walk in, say, hey, Kate from Foundation, are you here? Okay.
And it'll probably be like rock silent because like I'm only there on Saturdays.
Okay.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Trey?
You stole my line.
Dang it.
Trey. Trey Twyford. I work at Branches Counseling, which is over in, thank you, which is over in Thomas Crossroads. My specialty is working with couples. I work with only adults, but I work with a broad range of people.
I mean, I wonder why not.
Yeah, kids are not for me. I forgot the other part of the question.
No, that's plenty.
Oh, okay.
That's plenty. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
And sometimes I forget things.
Yeah.
So my name's Hank Arnold. I'm the founder and director of Coweta Force, and we are an addiction recovery support center. And what we focus on is peer recovery support services. So what that actually looks like is myself, as the rest of our team are all people that have experience navigating the addiction recovery journey and leverage our lived experience along with training to help people figure out what their next steps are regarding wellness around substance use recovery.
So I'm going to stop you right there because your answer at the 9 was different than that answer right there. And I'm impressed because both of them were really good. You know what I'm saying? They were really good. I mean, this doesn't have to be anything like the 9. I was just expecting your intro would be the same. It was not the same. And I mean, you just went up a whole nother notch on,
I'll take that.
what this brain can do. This is good. I'm impressed. Thank you, Hank.
I'm Jason Collins, and I came into the mental health field a little bit differently. I spent, it's almost 30 years now, on staff at Community Christian Church over in Sharpsburg, which many of you know of our church, and I'm sure he'll tell you more about that in a minute. But anyway, served over there in all different kind of ministry capacities, teaching pastor. I was student pastor for a while. And the way I always say it is in the life of ministry and doing the work of a pastor, you come across all kind of things. You see it all, you experience it all, you walk with people through all kinds of life situations. And there often comes that moment when you're sitting with somebody and you just realize, oh, you need to go see a counselor. And so you often find yourself referring people from your church to counselors. And we started to see, of course, as many of us know, mental health crisis started getting worse right after COVID. And when we would refer people to counselors, either they just couldn't find one, there was a too big waiting list, cost was prohibitive, all kinds of things like that. And my lead pastor at the time, Ed Martin, who has been a mentor of mine for 30 years now almost, he sat me down one day and he just said, you're always referring people to counselors. Why don't you just be one? And I thought, wow, that's something I never thought of doing. And in the fall of 21, I went back to school, got my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, and then today I'm practicing as in two places. We have our own nonprofit counseling office at Community Christian Church now, where I offer hopefully more affordable, more available mental health counseling. I also practice at The Pursuit Counseling, which is an office in Fayetteville, where I'm currently under supervision, working towards full licensure.
Yeah. And so the first three you'll see here like all the time. They're part of Foundation. As Jason said, he's actually on staff at Community Christian Church. For those of you who don't know, Community Christian Church is one of the two churches that helped give birth to us as a church 8.5 years ago. There's a church in McDonough called Momentum Christian Church, and then Community Christian Church, they partnered together, and Community in particular gave us thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars
You owe me.
to help us. I know, dude. To get us started. Incredibly generous, but it wasn't just financially that they helped support us when we got started. They also gave a lot of leadership capital. Ed Martin, who was the lead pastor there for so long, has stepped into a different role in this season of his life. He still serves and supports Foundation. He meets with me once a month. He's a part of our management team that kind of oversees everything that we do as a church. He's still involved in those things. We would not be who we are if God had not used them the way that he did. He would have had to choose somebody else if God wanted this to happen. We would not be who we are without Community Christian Church. And so for sure, we owe an enormous amount of gratitude and service and all the things. If they ever call and say, hey, can you help? Our answer must be yes. And not that they never do ask for anything. We still just are the ones that are asking. Which is why they've sent a full-time staff member to be with us last week and this week. That's right. We are so needy over here. Like, man, that Foundation kid is killing us, but just super grateful. And Jason, let me first tell you, Community is not perfect. But those imperfect people have done an enormous difference and have created or helped us to create a space where hundreds of families week in and week out learn to follow Jesus. So super grateful for that.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for being here.
Love you guys.
So I'm going to ask some questions. Again, I asked these, some of them actually might mix up a little bit. I asked these questions at 9. They don't have to be the same answers. You can be whatever you want to be. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as they're honest. So if you left out the other half, they can go back. Well, actually, we don't broadcast the 9, so you'll miss the first half of the answer. I trust y'all. Y'all talk for a living, so you'll be fine. But we are going to start with the very first question that we started with at the 9, is when you're thinking through folks who have never been to a counseling session before, they've never done it, what's one thing that you want them to understand about their first counseling session? Should they decide, hey, I'm going to give this a shot? What's one thing that, like, man, I wish they knew this?
I wish they knew that I am just as nervous as they are. Now, mind you, I'm an anxious human innately. But when someone walks in, they know what they're walking in with. I don't. I'm just kind of there to receive it. And so I'm just as nervous as you are.
So are you Facebook stalking them before they get there?
No, I don't have Facebook. I can't even do that. But I should. But no, I don't. Typically, when someone, well, honestly, a lot of people just text me because I'm horrible with returning phone calls. So when someone texts me, I'm like, cool, okay, I'll see you Saturday. And I just kind of pray for the best,
Yeah.
you know? So
And people keep coming back.
they
That's
do,
great.
and I'm totally cool with it.
And they
Like,
send their friends.
yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, those are the people I do know that are in my office, not the others.
That's right. That's good.
I
Anybody
always
else?
say to my clients, you know, I feel like you should be interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing you, because what I've found, and I think the rest of you guys would attest to this, is the relationship between counselor and client is the thing. It is the most important part of the therapeutic process. It's building that rapport, building that relationship together. And so I admit I'm not the counselor for every person. None of us are. And so it's important for you to find the right fit, and it's okay if it's not working to say so. I mean, it's an honest space. We need, you know, so be open, be honest about it, and let's see how it goes. But ask me questions. I often start my first session with, ask me anything you want. You know, what do you want to know about this process, or anything you're concerned about me, as much as I can reveal to you. But to break down that stigma of, you know, I've got to have it all figured out when I walk in the door. No, that's why we're here, is to figure it out.
Yeah. Anybody else? Or you feel like we covered it?
Well, I think it goes a long way to say that it doesn't get solved in the first session either. So let's say for me specifically, I spend 45, 50 minutes just listening pretty much on the first session. And then the last few minutes I'm saying, I think here's what we could work on. But usually that doesn't mean you did it, we're done.
Yeah.
It means see you next week.
Yes.
So then a follow-up to that is, how long does it take to fix me then, you know? Like if the first session is like, hey, I'm getting to know you, like how many more sessions I got to come back?
Are you talking about you personally?
It depends on who the me is.
I was gonna say the me matters. It ain't one session, I'll tell you that. I mean, for sure. It depends on what we're working on.
Yeah.
It really does. And so you've got to really decide what it is we're working on, how deep this goes. You know, how it took you probably a long time to get to the point where you decided to go see a counselor.
Yeah.
So it's going to take you a long time to get out of whatever it is that you're in. So be patient.
And it also depends on the age. So typically with kids, it takes usually 2 or 3 sessions for them to even get to a place where they're like, yeah, you're all right as a human, for them to even talk to you. So when you think about it, you have to think in terms of like who you're working with, or is it someone who doesn't trust people? Because that's going to take even longer for you just to establish that initial relationship for them to even feel like I can talk to you about things.
That's true.
Yeah, the stage of life or like the situation matters. So like if you walk into the office and you're in crisis, we're probably not solving something so much as just trying to make it manageable in that moment. Or even like a marital issue that didn't happen overnight, like Jason said, but it takes some time to learn new patterns and create new skills.
I think when you first walk into a counseling office, you should be ready to give it at least 4 to 6 sessions, at least, before you can even make a determination of whether this is working or not, whether you want to continue or not. I don't think you can really get a good sense. That's just from my experience, a good sense of where you're going or if this is working until you at least commit to that much.
Yeah.
Unless you don't vibe with the counselor.
Well, yeah, at
And if
any
you don't
point.
bite, yeah.
That's right. At any point you can, yeah. So.
Yeah. I would imagine one of the key words, which is pretty intimidating, maybe even scary for our culture, to make progress or have an opportunity, a really good opportunity to make some progress, would be the idea of being vulnerable. So share a little bit about, from your own experience, why is that such a scary, intimidating word, vulnerability?
I always say it this way. Vulnerability, when you watch someone else do it, looks like strength and courage. Vulnerability, when you do it, feels like dying. And there's truth in that, because being vulnerable, you are, in a sense, to use the language of the Bible, we are dying to ourselves a bit. We are opening up ourselves and actually taking some risk. And we can talk about safety after this, but when you become vulnerable with another person, you're opening up a little bit of yourself to allow them to maybe hurt you or maybe misuse that vulnerability in a way that you would not want. But at the same time, being vulnerable is the path towards strength. You know, as Christians, we believe when I am weak, when I am open, when I am transparent, then he is strong. And so I think entering into a place where I can feel comfortable enough with another person, with a counselor, to be vulnerable, to just lay it out there. Here's who I am, what I'm going through. It is the first step to experiencing that strength.
I would also say my ability to be vulnerable has a lot to do with who in my life models that well. Yeah. And if I have never had contact with somebody that models that in a way that is beneficial and attractive and is a foundational part of relationship where people are really letting me know who they are, then maybe I just don't know how to do that. And that's a hard thing. I'm the only guy around that probably would go to therapy before I learned about what it took to get well and talk about all the things except for what I needed to be talking about in that place. And I've had some experiences where I've been in facilities where people are paying a lot of money for me to be there. Like insurance is probably getting $1,500 a day of reimbursement. And what I'm talking about in there are the things that don't really matter because I don't know how to access that place of vulnerability. And I've never, and the conditioning that I've had and what I was raised with didn't condition me to show up with the ability to even do that. So there was a whole lot for me of unlearning what I grew up with for my own, for the sake of my own heart and my own growth and my own wellness. I had to, and honestly, the reason why I did wasn't because it was attractive. It was because what I was doing, I was so desperate to get out of that place, right? Most of the time when I talk with somebody, I'm like, man, I should have met you 10 years ago. We could have, what would it look like for us to be a first stop and not a last stop? You know, like how could that shift the trajectory of someone's life? You know, so I think the ability to be around other people that have access to vulnerability and model that well, and that vulnerability honestly is a key component in the depth of relationships. That without vulnerability, the depth of my relationships just isn't that authentic.
Yeah. Why do you think we value not being vulnerable?
Well,
We're scared.
and I'm tough. You know, don't you know who I think I am?
Yeah.
You know, like I can get through anything by myself.
Yes.
Like that's nobody's real truth.
Yeah.
The whole New Testament is about community.
But also from a young age, that's what we're taught. I know in my household, we were taught, you know, children are to be seen and not heard. And then, like, for my brother, like, he was taught, like, grown men don't cry. And so from an early age, we were taught that our voices don't matter and our feelings don't matter. And so we are having to recondition ourselves as a generation to be more emotionally aware. And that's where our own personal stuff has to come in.
Yeah, I would say most of the men that I work with have only ever been given permission to access one emotion, anger. That's the only appropriate male emotion that we accept in our culture. In fact, we often expect it out of our men to be tough and big and go at it, you know, go after something. And all the other emotions we have categorized as somehow less than manly in some ways. And so breaking through that cultural conditioning that we have in our space right now is very important.
Yeah. I know for me personally and some friends, especially if you have any type of leadership role, no matter what industry you're in, the thought of being vulnerable with people raises your heartbeat a little bit, because when you're open and transparent, the danger of them using that against you or leveraging that, not to your benefit, but to your, I don't know, demise might be too strong of a word, but maybe even that. That instead of finding someone that wants to help, they take your position or whatever your responsibilities are, and they would leverage that against you if you were to be actually honest about something you were struggling with. So what do you say to that if that's the excuse?
That's real.
It is real. Yeah.
Yeah, I think who are safe people in your life, and I didn't know anything about safe people. I didn't have a community. Again, you can tell a difference in someone that has worked through some hard stuff versus someone that is in the middle of some hard stuff that they haven't worked through by how they talk about it. And you can hear it. There's some indicators there in some of that messaging, and I make it a habit regularly to hang around people that have been through, that have endured hardship, that have endured things that I was like, man, how did this person get through this and not completely self-destruct? Those are the people that are going to have access, and those are the people that are going to have the experience to be able to have that safe space to talk through some things. I'm always looking to, I've been through some hard stuff, even in the last few years. I've been through some really hard stuff. I lost my son almost 3 years ago, Sebastian, and it was a tragic, sudden accident. And I was like, how do people lose a child and get through this without completely blowing their life up or completely isolating themselves? And as much as that's still a natural thing for me, I can't lay down and just let a circumstance or situation completely take me out of this thing. And so even in that moment, I reached out to community members that had lost children that showed up to work and that show up in a genuine and authentic way and have handled grief in a healthy way. And I asked them, how do you do this? And you know what? They usually tell me. When I ask for help from healthy people, they share everything they have. That's a benefit to, be careful of the people that you hang out with. I try to be around people that have some things and qualities that I want.
And that's what we as counselors are supposed to be doing, is providing that safe space. But I say this especially when we first get started working together. I say, I get it. You don't have any reason to trust me yet. My job is to earn that. And I'm going to stay here until you feel as if I've earned your trust and you can be vulnerable. I want them to know that it is a safe space, but that safety is earned.
Yeah.
That's good. When we think through kind of the stigma around mental health struggles, anxiety, depression, those things, when we think through that and someone's trying to process maybe my faith or my place of faith or people in my life that are people of faith are trying to tell me, if you'll just pray more, read the Bible more, this wouldn't be an issue for you. If you just go to church more, this wouldn't be an issue for you. How do you help someone reconcile their feeling of spiritual failure with the reality of what they're sitting in mentally and emotionally?
You said read the Bible more, and I know what you meant by that, but if you really did read it, you would find so many examples of people who were people of God, who suffered mentally and emotionally, even Jesus. I mean, the night before he went to the cross, if you've read that story and you see what he went through and when he prayed in the garden, I mean, there are telltale signs of what he was experiencing in that moment that we see in our offices all the time. Grief and anguish and panic and all of those emotions. And so that's one thing I would say is sit with that, because just because you're a believer does not mean you won't suffer. And it's actually a part of the journey. And so the other thing, and I said this at the last service, is I grew up underneath a spiritual system that took verses like Jesus speaking in Matthew chapter 6, don't worry about anything, you know, and Paul's encouragement in his epistles, you know, don't worry about anything, pray about everything. And we turned those into commandments. Like worry was a sin, or anxiety was somehow a sin if you experienced it. I don't see it that way. In fact, when I hear Jesus saying, don't worry, it's more like a father to a child who's offering an invitation to, hey, come on, you don't have to. There's a better way to do this. You can do life with me, and I hold all things together in all creation, including you. And so join me in this life, and you won't have to worry the way you currently do. And so understanding and having compassion for yourself, that's where it starts. But knowing the compassion God has for you, he understands what it's like to suffer. He understands what it's like to feel anxious and depressed.
I think one of the things you can also do is make anxiety or depression the problem rather than I'm the problem. Right?
That's huge.
I feel guilty. Instead of feeling guilty or like I have failed, it's more about how am I battling against this thing? And sometimes I have to grab a hold of somebody else who's stronger than me or who has lived through it or you know, whatever that can help me fight this battle. And for sure, from a faith perspective, and research says, going to church, reading your Bible, prayer, those things help.
They do.
And that's just a part of a long list of things that can be a resource.
Yeah.
But a big piece of that is community.
Mm.
And having the community rally around you sometimes is what you need. More than probably the majority of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I usually question what's brought you to that place to feel like your spirituality is being challenged in those moments of hardship. Because there's a core situation or feeling or phrase that's sticking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say also struggle. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's part, and you know, like God uses that. I mean, I look at my current situation and my current experience is that every bit of what I went through, as unnecessary as I can say it was, and as painful as it was, and as hard as it was for the people that cared about me to watch this rapid decline, that also gives me credibility to be able to sit knee to knee with somebody. And I find it extremely, I'm humbled and I'm honored to share space with somebody when they're disclosing the thing that maybe they've never talked about, and just create a safe enough space to sit with that person in that moment. And it's not about fixing anybody. I think it's more about just creating a safe space to listen and to start to garner some trust and some respect. And I kind of view what we do as the ability to walk alongside somebody, you know, to do life with people in a way that is genuine and authentic, and to also celebrate the wins. Like the harder I have fallen, the like more miraculous my comeback can be, you know. And I live to see that happen for people, you know, and want to celebrate those wins for folks. And I also know that from a faith place, they're not in opposition. Those things are very much complementary. And even if I'm strong in my faith and mature in my faith, we will show up to a day that we've not faced before in a way that I question my faith. And I should be able to be transparent about questioning my faith. I do. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think as the church, as not the four walls but the body, how do we create safety around those conversations? And how do everybody here struggles. Some of us just look more stoic than others.
Yes.
Right? And I know that like having the but like, you know, in small group, oftentimes that's where walls can break down. You know, when you gravitate to somebody, the fantasy football thing, you know, like getting lunch with somebody afterward to have a further conversation, you know, the ability to build community and support, that I don't have to be in crisis to identify when I need some additional support, and that I have a team of people that I know who I can call on when I need to lean on somebody. And obviously, prayer is there all the time, but we also have our brothers and sisters beside us to walk along.
Yeah. So then I think I know how you would answer this question. Can someone love Jesus deeply and still need medication or long-term counseling?
God, I hope so.
Yes.
Because I'd be in trouble.
That's right. We all would. Absolutely. Yeah.
I look at like also my experience has deepened my relationship in the most meaningful way. Like the dependency that I have, I'm the less reliant on self I can be for all things. That's a good position to be in. But it also speaks to vulnerability.
That's right. Well, either we believe what we say or we don't. And what the word tells us is when I'm weak, then I am strong. Not when I got it all together, not when I can handle it, but when I am weak. And that's vulnerability, okay? And so you talk about self-reliance. That's what that is. That keeps us from experiencing the power of God in our lives. And so I think we either decide we believe it or not, we lean into it or not. And I think once we get to the end of our self-reliance, that's when most people I find start to get healed.
Yeah. Change does not happen in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It just, if I'm comfortable and there's an issue that I'm struggling with that I really need to address, if I'm just like comfortable, buddy, I'm still in my problem.
Yeah.
It's hard and it's not that comfortable, especially in the beginning.
You know, for the three of you that see Foundation like all the time, Jason kind of being in the next city over, but still very aware of what we're doing through that lens. What's something that our church needs to keep doing when it comes to mental health? But also, share with me something maybe that we're not doing that we probably should consider when it comes to the space and the series that we've had, and just anything that could be possibly attached to it. Any of those things.
I'm a big advocate of modeling the behaviors and modeling what we are wanting people to see. And so if we don't talk about having counselors or having therapists or having those people support us, then people are never going to feel like they can connect to that. And I know for me, I mean, I've seen a counselor since 2020 because COVID, and it was terrifying in my household. And so, but that support can make you look as a counselor like a weak person, but also it's just the reality of like everybody needs support and it's okay to do that. So if we model that this is our standard, then other people will accept that too.
That's good.
Yeah. I would say for a long time, and you know, I sat in a seat much like where you sit, Clint, as a pastor, leading people in the church. And for a long, long time, I thought that people were drawn to my strengths, my talent, my abilities, my knowledge, my wisdom. And what I slowly discovered, and it took some hard-fought battles to understand this and to get okay with it in my own soul, is that actually those things don't connect me with other people. They're actually not as relatable as you often think they are. What is relatable and what does draw us together as brothers and sisters in Christ is when I can look at you and you can look at me and go, I'm not all right. This week was hell. Or I'm struggling and I'm feeling a sadness that is so deep that I can't even describe it to you. And then have another brother or sister look back at me and go, yeah, me too. That's where it all starts. And until we can, like Kate said, model that to each other, we become a body of believers that walk in these doors every Sunday, and we look at each other and we think, he's all right, she's all right, what's wrong with me? But if you were honest and you were open with me and said, no, I'm not okay, I go, thank God, me too. Well, now we get somewhere. Now we start to share the connection that Christ affords us as brothers and sisters through that vulnerability and weakness. And so I think create a church where it's just, yeah, me too. And it's not just this, here's what I want to show you. Now, there's appropriate levels of that. And I'm going to be clear. We all can't just walk around just, there's appropriate vulnerability. So set that to the side. But
Can't be walking around mentally naked.
that's right. That's right. But we can walk around being mentally honest. All right? And there's a difference. And so that's what I would say is that's the kind of church we're trying to create. And I know that's what you're doing here. And doing this is a part of that. So
Yeah. You don't have to have an answer, but if you got something,
I got two answers.
let's go.
I think one big part is taking care of yourself. So there's lots of whatever you're on a plane, the oxygen mask, you put it on yourself first before somebody else. So I think a big part of showing up for other people is making sure that you're in a healthy place. And then maybe what you can do is practice being a good listener, asking good questions. I think a lot of that goes back to kind of what Jason's saying about I can share my vulnerability in a way that helps you feel seen and heard. But the focus is still on you or the struggle you're having or what you're looking for. And so being a good listener, a shoulder to cry on, right? What does it look like to bear one another's burdens? I think that's something that we can all grow in.
Well, I would also say, too, that having this series every year, this is how I met Foundation Church. I was invited to the very first mental health series to set up a tent at Newnan High School. That's where I met Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty was at the 9.
Yeah. So,
He stole a Reese cup from Trey and tried to give it to me at the end of the 9 as my prize.
yeah,
He said he did a good job. Thank you.
nice.
It was good.
But I think, starting, having this conversation and taking it seriously enough to make it a series, and understanding the importance of it. And then I would also say, too, for people like getting mental wellness applies for everybody. That's for everyone. There's nobody that can't benefit from mental wellness. And that is my responsibility. So I think when I start to own that, when I own that and make it my own and it's intentional, then it's important to me. Because if I don't prioritize it for myself, it will never be a priority.
Yeah.
The analogy I like to use is if I broke my arm, would I go to the most affordable 1-star orthopedic surgeon? Or would I want the 5-star guy that may be out of network with my insurance that I would have? But, how do I prioritize what's important to me? Because
Depending on the family you grew up in, your dad might just say, put some sticks and rub some dirt on it.
That's
You know what I'm
right. That's right. Sticks and stones and all that stuff. Yeah. But,
and now you walk with a limp.
That's right. But making it a priority, because if I'm not well, it impacts everything. It impacts my ability to show up to work. It impacts my ability to be a parent, to be a spouse. All of those things. It impacts everything in my life. It's not these nice, neat sections.
Yeah.
That one area doesn't impact other areas. It most certainly does.
Yeah. A couple more questions. Let's get super practical. So, how can someone tell the difference between normal stress and something that might need professional attention? Like, how do you know the difference between, hey, this was just a Monday, and no, this is next level. I probably should talk to someone about this.
One of the things is, or two parts maybe, are intensity and duration. So how significant or burdensome is it, and then how long does it last? So one bad day, you don't necessarily need a counselor. You might want a good friend, though, and that'd be good to reach out. But month, I like Hank's analogy of the broken arm, right? Like, if you hurt your elbow or something, I hurt my elbow, and I thought I'll just give it a day or two, let it recover. Well, it's like 2 weeks. Maybe I need to go talk to somebody, right? Like there's some line that can kind of be different for everybody depending on your friends. Maybe you have a doctor friend, so you don't need to go to the doctor.
That's right.
But also in like the DSM, which is like the diagnostic manual that we use, the majority of diagnosis, they say 2 weeks or longer. So if there is an intense stress or feeling for longer than 2 weeks, that's when you can kind of wave your white flag. And a lot of counselors do consultations. So you can also reach out to a counselor just for a consultation and say like, I don't know what's up. Do I need to come in? Do I not need to come in? Do I need to like, chat GPT coping skills? Like what would be effective? So
In my line of work, I would say, do you continue to drink or use despite negative consequences in any area of your life? That's a really basic way.
Yeah.
Say that again a little slower.
Do I continue to drink or use drugs despite negative consequences?
Yeah.
Do I have to use more of said drink or drug to achieve the same desired effect or outcome with the euphoria?
Yeah.
Am I dishonest with the people that are closest to me about how much I drink and use? Yeah. Those are all really good indicators on if it's a problem. Before I found recovery, if you were to tell me I could never drink again, I'd be like, what about New Year's? What about, that's when all the rookies drink, I would drink on anybody's birthday. It could be mine or yours. Like I didn't care, but if you told me, like I would like fight you about like never, like what about at my friend's wedding? Like that really mattered that much. But if you were to tell my wife she could never drink again, she'd be like, oh man, I really like a half a margarita once a month on Friday, because that's all she drinks is a half of one. And I still don't understand how she leaves the half. Like I don't understand that. She's like, oh, I'm feeling this. It's time for me to stop. And I was like, this is the time you power through. And you lean in, That's how I know I drink different than she does. And if you were to tell her she could never drink again, she would just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, that was like kind of what made me okay. And that there was something deeper behind the challenge to stop.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny and comical, but to see it play out is really sad for me in my life because
There's some prison time involved.
there's 3 years of prison time involved. And I can laugh about that today,
Yeah.
but at the time that happened, some pretty substantial consequences happened for me in my life, and it still wasn't enough. I thought, so for people that struggle with substance use, a relationship, a career, and a consequence is no match. It's not. It's not. As much as I want it to be, as much as I think that these things are going to make me well or will be check marks, that if I can hold these things together, then I'm okay, absolutely not. And some people's unmanageability just is more apparent than other people's. But for people that struggle, it is a struggle. And my experience when I do it by myself, like what I know to be right and true for me always loses eventually. If I don't have the proper accountability, the practical steps. And I love the practical part of the conversation because guess what? It requires action. Even if I'm going to counseling, coaching, therapy, treatment, whatever, I eventually have to so do you think that the Georgia Bulldogs quarterback at the game the other day was different than the person at the 50-yard line watching the game, right? The spectator experience is different than the guy that's in the game. Like in this thing, we have to be on the field, right? We have to be responsible and take responsibility for that and own it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a little bit like fun. In my wellness journey, like the first year was so incredibly hard. It was awful because it was a whole bunch of me fighting myself internally about what I wanted to really do, what my flesh and my heart wanted to do, versus like what I knew I should be doing. And then I learned some skills and some tools, and my lifestyle began to change. And today it's relatively easy to maintain my wellness. But in my first year, it was hard. I thought it would never get better. You know, but I think too, just owning it and taking responsibility for it and calling it what it is, just the ugly. Like, do I have somebody I can just talk about the ugly with? You know, there's a lot of freedom in that. And once I can throw it out there and acknowledge it, then it's action time. It's action time. And that is where the rubber meets the road. And guess what? Like, God shows up so big. This was my prayer, and still is on my best day. God, if you show me the door, I promise you I'll walk through it. If you show me the door, I'll walk through it. I don't care how terrifying it is. I show up to things all the time that my head says, don't do it because you're not whatever enough. And I still show up. And that's what a lot of this has taught me to do, is show up in spite of myself.
Yeah, it's good. So last question. There's a lot of folks here. They're listening. I feel like you have their undivided attention. So I would like for you to share with them, maybe I won't even put any specifics to it, but you just kind of speak out of what, your specialty is to those individuals in the room. Maybe just remind them, who that might be. Just one thing that you just want them to know this morning. Could be about counseling, could be about the demographic that you specialize in, any of those things. Just, you gotta get the floor, get some freedom. Just allow Jesus to speak through you. What's one thing that you just feel like, hey, I gotta say this before we're done? Doesn't have to go in any particular order. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. So my specialty is with couples, and I think one of the things I try to encourage couples in is just to start somewhere. So there's tons of books. Some are good, some are not so good. At the end of the day, initially, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the conversation that you have about it. So if you both hate the book, that's okay. I didn't write them. So I think when we are looking for healthy relationships, a lot of it is taking a risk and being vulnerable. So even just offering a desire to read a book together or to read the Bible together, or like I said, it doesn't matter what the resource is. So take a step.
I would probably say, I work with kids and teenagers, but I also work with couples and families. Finding a counselor that you fit with, so you have that trust and vulnerability with them. So it's not really just a first person you meet, is going to be the person that you stay with forever. Definitely shop for a counselor. Be aware that a counselor is also there for not only your child, but also for you. Because as parents, 90% of the time we have no idea what we're doing. And so when your child is in counseling and that counselor is working with them, you have the ability to look at the counselor and say, I don't know what to do when we walk out of the door. And the counselor's job is to support you as well. Because in order for your child to heal, they get to work with you and partner with you.
It's good.
I feel like my job is to create a safe space for people to have their own experience. And I can share my experience that can provide maybe a hopeful message that regardless of how far down you've gone or what decisions you've made over and over again, you can still come back to the place and do something different. And that's extremely important to me because that's my experience. But what's even more important to an individual that I'm working with is that they have the safety to have their own experience. And so for me, I really look at how do I eliminate or reduce any barriers to that individual showing up and accessing the support that they need. And that I've had people tell me all kinds of things, and it never goes further than my office. And again, I think I'm incredibly honored to sit knee to knee with people to talk through some of the things that maybe they've never even verbalized before. And to help them make a plan to figure out how to move forward in spite of. Yeah.
You mentioned specialty. I don't know if I have a specific specialty, but I do know that I have found myself in a room many times with adults who have something from their past, something that happened to them. It was very traumatic. And I find that a lot of times one of the biggest hurdles and the toughest things to get over is that the way that it keeps showing back up in my life, the way that this continues to make me feel or continues to make me reach for a substance or some kind of numbing, something to numb that pain. The biggest hurdle that I find we have to really sit with and get over is this is not your fault. So many times we have internalized these messages that, the things that I am addicted to, the things that I'm running to, the behaviors or the emotions that I can't seem to get a hold of in my life are because there's something wrong with me. And I would say to you, it is not your fault. It was not what you did, it was what was done to you. And we know now, it's a foregone conclusion. No arguments anymore. We know trauma is stored in the body. It is something that has changed your makeup of your brain and your body and the way they communicate with each other. It is why you have panic attacks. It is not because there's something you're doing wrong. But there is a way that you can sit with a good trained counselor who can help you work through that trauma, and it can go from something that feels like it is happening whenever you get triggered to something that actually did happen and you have some distance and perspective on it. So I would say to you, if that's what you've been experiencing, there's hope for you. I would really encourage you, reach out to somebody who is trained in that area and get some help. That is God's will for you.
That's good. The important thing for me, like the starting place for any partnership that we have with counselors, is that the first and foremost, most important thing in their life is not their education or their experience. It's not the DSM. It's not, any of those things. Is Jesus who the Bible says he is? Was there a man who lived in the first third of the first century in Roman-occupied Jerusalem that died on a Roman cross and resurrected physically from the dead 3 days later? Because that changes everything. It allows individuals like this to leverage their gifts and to look at people's lives where some people might have tools. They have the same tools, except they also believe in miracles. They have the same tools, but they also know that they serve and follow someone who's conquered death. And so when you bring things to them, the worldview, they see that and help coach and lead and suggest and point in a direction, is one that lines up with a worldview that is Jesus-centered. And that makes all the difference in the world. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to our church, and I know it's a big deal to them. It was difficult, probably 10 years ago, for me to come to terms with the idea that I can't talk people through everything in their life, and realizing that I just wasn't equipped to do it. And so it was probably 10 or 11 years ago, I started trying to figure out, how do I create partnerships in places where I'm just not skilled to do that. And thankfully, Foundation has been able to gather a number of partnerships in our community, and you're seeing some of the best of those here today. I trust any of these guys. You don't have to come to me to say, hey, what do you think? If you see them here or they're out in the tent out there, then they have my full endorsement. And that's not something that just continues. There's a group that we had here for a couple of years, and they're no longer here because that view on who Jesus was changed. And that's okay. That's their decision. But for right now, like you see these people, they're partners of ours, and I would trust them with my own family, and would encourage you, if you're in a place of, hey, where does this sit with me? Do I need a next step? These are great people to have a next step with. But it's because Jesus is so significant to them that allows them to leverage their gifts, their experience, and their education in a way that's God honoring first and is really great leadership second.